Welcome to Visualize, the podcast where collaboration fuels change. I'm your host, Chris Baker, and each week we'll explore incredible connections between nonprofits, businesses, and the community. This is a space where we highlight inspiring partnerships, uncover strategies for creating meaningful impact, and share stories that show how working together can make all the difference. Whether you're a nonprofit leader, a business owner, or someone just passionate about building connections, this podcast is for you. Welcome back to Visualize. Before we dive in, we just want to take a moment to say thank you to our brand partner for this episode, Mark Adams with Visuals by Momo. Mark and the team at Visuals by Momo help nonprofits and businesses tell powerful stories through video. From their heartfelt interviews to dynamic art brand pieces, they craft visuals that truly inspire and connect. We're proud to have Mark and Visuals by Momo supporting this podcast. Visit visualsbymomo.com and check out the show notes to see how you can help bring your story to life. So now let's jump into today's episode. Our guest today is Milton Campis.
Yes, sir.
And he is with Academy Safe. Academy Safe is a nonprofit dedicated to creating a secure and enriching environment for martial arts students across North America. Through education, background checks, and a national registry, they work to ensure safety and the well-being of every practitioner. Welcome, Milton.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
So what sparked you to create Academy Safe?
So I am a martial artist. I'm a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. I've been training for going on 12 years. Unfortunately, the little secret that Jiu-Jitsu has is that, especially in Florida, child molestations and even worse, sexual assaults have been happening within our community and been kind of swept under the rug a bit. I myself was at what we would call an affiliate of a larger martial arts organization. And other affiliates had problems with two different coaches sleeping with girls that were underage.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, that affiliate wound up kind of helping those guys leave the country. They went back to Brazil. So they didn't really face all of the consequences that they should have faced here.
Right.
So that happened. Now that happened before I was training. I was training for years and didn't know that this had happened, but an issue between two competitors, including one of the ones that was accused of statutory rape. He and another competitor got into like a little scramble while they were training. One of them was injured, went online and started to say, not only is this guy a real jerk for doing what he did to me, but why is this guy in an academy with kids? He's been convicted, and it's very hard to go into all the dynamics of what happened, but he wasn't supposed to be around kids, and he was in a martial arts facility that has a kids program, and he wasn't supposed to be there. And then that brought that to life for those of us who were new at Jiu-Jitsu and didn't know about this at all. We had no inkling that anything like this had happened. That was there was two incidents. Those were the first two incidents I wound up finding out about. My coach, when I went to him and said, I don't really want to pay money to this affiliate anymore, I'm going to have to find another gym. He left that affiliation, so he became independent. And that was great. And I stayed there training for years, and then come to find out that he had some indiscretions as well. He was basically hitting on the wives, girlfriends, mothers of students. There were a couple of things that had happened where he had made children feel uncomfortable. He was caught doing certain things, and I just said, this is a bridge too far, and I left. But when I left, I do a podcast myself called the Jiu-Jitsu Dummies Podcast. I own a marketing company called Black Belt Digital Marketing, and I knew that it would be easy for me to do something about it. And going back, just so that you understand, there are no mandates in most locales throughout the United States, just no state regulations, no federal regulations, and most local governments do not have a process to do any kind of background checking on the martial arts industry and other industries as well, but we'll stick to the martial arts side of things. There are some that in some parts of the United States, if you're working with children, it's an automatic background check. But especially here in Florida, there are no mandates. You may, if you're working with a school and have an aftercare program where you're picking up kids from school, again, depending on the local government, you may have to. But for the most part, there is no checking. Where there are industry organizations that do some type of checking, it's usually, I want to register my black belt with you, whether it's a Taekwondo organization, or we have something called the IBJJF, which is a tournament organization. And if you want to register as a black belt so that your team, the people that you train, can then register for this organization and compete, then and only then do they make the black belt, the owner, or the head coach do a background check. Where we come in is we're mandating it. If you want to be part of Academy Safe, if you want to be part of our national registry, really it's North America, so it's US and Canada. If you want to be part of our registry, you're not only having the owner, head coach, potentially, that's the same person usually, go through a background check. And there are a whole bunch of other things that we mandate, but the background check being the most important. If you want to be part of our organization, you and any of your staff members over 18 are going through a background check. And then there are 4 other points for a staff member that they have to go through. We could talk about that if we have time. And then 8 full items that make an academy safe. So everybody in the organization is going through a background check, which is the most important part, which just isn't happening. Great, the owner has a background check.
Right.
He's hiring off the street. And unfortunately, because of this, it is known by predators out there that this is somewhat of a safe haven for them. They can come in, get themselves around kids. There are no mandatory background checks. And if one school does do a background check, he can just find another, and he can be around these children, and it's happening. So again, I can go into the other things that we do, but
Wow.
I can go down the full list of what we do.
Yeah, no, I mean, just hearing that, that's very scary to actually know that, if you have kids or even yourself, just going there and bringing, wanting to get trained in a school in martial arts, you really don't know what you're getting into. So having this
I get chills when somebody else says it to me.
Yeah.
Right? It is scary.
It is because like you're going in there to learn a discipline. You're learning self-defense. You're learning to take care of yourself. And then you're also maybe presenting yourself in an unsafe situation. That's not what you're wanting. And that's not the whole reason you're going. So it's really scary.
We bring our children, our families, our wives, our daughters, our sons to martial arts so that they learn how to protect themselves against this type of predatory behavior.
And then it's right
and
there.
The teacher is the wolf in sheep's clothing, or is it which way?
Yeah,
it's
the
wolf in sheep's clothing, right?
Yeah.
So they wind up. Unfortunately, this is unfortunate. I love martial arts. I love Jiu-Jitsu. I love UFC. It's where my love for all this came from.
Yeah.
I started Jiu-Jitsu at right before my 41st birthday. I did some martial arts when I was younger, but not a lot. So I came to this later in life, and then going into something as like what we would call people would call me maybe a hobbyist because I don't own a gym, train 3 or 4 times a week. To go into this knowing that the coach is the worst predator, or a coach in that system is the worst of all the predators that we can find. Like, we're bringing them into the belly of the beast without knowing it. So I've been very, very vocal. I partnered with, I should say, he's the executive VP of Academy Safe, Rob Ingram from McDojo Life. If you check him out online, you'll see he's a huge social media presence, 700,000+ followers on Instagram alone. I bring that up to say that he's been doing this for years, or I should say he's been outing people after this has happened. They get arrested, they get convicted. He puts them on his own registry on his website. He does reports about them. So he's been doing this, I say it, being very reactive to a problem. It's like almost like a news organization, News at 11, right? He's coming to you with a story of something bad that's happened. And I had this idea. I registered it. I was moving forward, and I said, I got to call Rob about this. I'm about to step into his space. Let me get some advice.
Yeah.
I spoke to Rob, and he said, you know what? People have been trying to get me to do this for years. What are we trying to do? We're trying to be proactive. We're trying to make sure, at very least, if you have a sexual assault conviction on your record, if you have any type of domestic violence, we're going to find out about it before you start teaching our kids. And just, by the way, we're using the same criteria that USA Wrestling, the guys that bring kids to the Olympics, We're using the same exact background criteria. We're using the same company as they do. And they do 2 items. They do background checks and something called U.S. Center for Safe Sport certification, which the U.S. Center for Safe Sport was born out of the debacle with the girls' gymnastics team.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
The doctor and all that. This organization was born. It's a government-funded organization, but they teach people, coaches, parents, what to watch out for: grooming, bullying. So it's a great course to take. So those are our 2 top-line items, which are background checks, U.S. Center for Safe Sport certification. We're in martial arts. They offer a concussion course, so we have that as well. Security cameras on premises, AED on premises, CPR first aid, AED certification. We do what we call a lineage check. So we're actually finding out if the coach has actually got a black belt or is actually because that happens.
Oh, yeah.
And then business insurance. Believe it or not, a lot of academies just don't have business insurance because it's either not affordable or they sign their lease. They have 1 year of insurance. Maybe the lease is a 2, 3, 5 year lease. The landlord's not coming back asking for their insurance again, and they let it lapse.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Some of the smaller organizations, but so those are 8 items that we make them do. We give them an accreditation once we check all those certifications. We have a concierge service that does it. We have our staff members that onboard. Brandy's part of the organization. I know you know Brandy.
Yeah, I know Randy very well. Yeah.
And then for the coach, they do those items minus, right? They don't have to have their own business insurance. They don't need to show us security cameras, and they don't need to have an AT because the owner's done that. So we list them. We give them a page on our website. We list everything, every coach, everything that they've done, everything that they've been certified in, and then we give them an accreditation. We give them stickers for the doors. We start promoting them on social media, the website. Again, I own a marketing company. These pages are highly SEO'd, right? So it's funny. I was at an event this weekend, and we were sitting and we were talking to some of our accredited academies, and we were just looking them up, using their name to look them up, and there was Academy Safe right either below their website or just a couple of links down after just a year. So when somebody is looking for them and checking them out, they'll see their Google business profile, maybe their website, and Academy Safe is somewhere on that first page, and it shows that they're accredited. And if somebody goes to our page to look at them, they're going to see background checks on all coaches and all the things that I listed, right? So that's our mandate. That's what we're looking to do. And we're really hoping to change the game. My VP, Rob, is always saying, I hope that this puts me out of business. He's like, I hope I never have to report on stuff like this again. Absolutely. And I say, I hope, although government intervention isn't always a great thing, business owners all know that. In this case, we can't stop and really wouldn't stop unless the government came in and said, we're going to do all these things. And even then, they're not going to mandate all 8 things. But at very least, the background check and the Center for Safe Sport certification, which that course really gets the coaches thinking about what's going on in their academy. Is somebody being groomed? Is somebody being bullied? What does that look like? Parents are able to take the course. So it's super informative, and it is going to get us to a place where it's no longer a safe haven. And if a coach comes in and has a record, he's been convicted of anything, and he walks through that door and they say, can you pass a background check? And he says, oh yeah, sure. But what most people say, yeah, no problem. But then they never come back. And that's what we want. If we can not make this a place where they can hide in plain sight, then we've accomplished, our goal, which again is making all martial arts safe. Listen, at the end of the day, it's usually women and children that are assaulted, but it happens to men as well. Believe it or not, we can go into that. I don't want to go into that, but we can do it. You could just Google that and see that it happens to men as well. So really just making the martial arts safe. It's something that I love. It is a huge part of my life. It's because of it. I have basically 3 businesses or 3 things that I'm involved with that are either named for it, or run in those martial arts circles. So this was a very easy for me to decide to do. But I love what I'm doing, and I'm incredibly happy that it's resonating with people, that people are going like, that doesn't happen already? Well, good for you. Let's do something about that.
Sometimes, yeah, and sometimes the government is not always there, and the community has to step up. So I wanted to be a little bit more nice, but but in truth, the community has to step up. They have to get in front of what is happening, so that we can protect the people that we care about. Our loved ones, our kids, our spouses, whoever it might be. So I'm really grateful that Academy Safe is up and running. I'm glad that there is a huge checklist and there's a way to give them, hey, now you have the certificate, or what would you call it?
So we're checking their certifications to then accredit them as an
accredit them. Yeah. So you're giving that accreditation and stickers so that people know this is a safe place for people to come. Yeah. This is a safe place for you to learn. I did Taekwondo for 3 years and I loved every minute of it. And I did have a safe space, but I also can see some of the bullying that can happen or other things that it is unsafe to be around.
Your parents, when they put you into martial arts,
I actually put myself in.
Put yourself into it.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know how long ago that is, but if you could remember, and most parents go through this, is they get some type of tour, and what's the first question that you think just about everyone would ask?
That's a good question.
How much? How much your class? How much your classes?
Yeah, okay.
That's usually like
the price.
Price.
Yeah.
And not a lot not much else. We want to make it just a no-brainer that when you walk in, that your first question or your second is, do you do background checks on all your staff members? That would be huge. That would be a win.
That's
a win to force academies to go, you know what, I guess we really have to do background checks. You don't want to do it with us? Don't do it with us. We charge them $99 a year as a member to be on our site, to be promoted. The background check is 2 years. Safe Sport is 2 years with an annual continuing ed, like a CEU, like the end, right? And again, though, we're checking everything. Not a lot of money. Not a lot of money.
It's not.
$99, $75 per staff member to then be promoted on social media, online, have that listing site, and be part of an organization that's doing something about it. You pointing at the wall and being, I have academies that actually told me that when they do their tour, they stop at the sticker on the wall and they tell everybody what that Academy Safe sticker means and the accreditation and the process they went through. And it's just helping immensely. So we really want that second question to be, at very least, do you guys do background checks?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't? Okay. Thank you very much for your time. And find somebody. Either go to academysafe.org and find an academy near you. We are in phase 1 where November will be 1 year that the website's been up and we've been taking on members. We've got just about 100 coaches across the country. Again, we're doing U.S. and Canada, but right now it's been almost all U.S., I believe. I think we have one that's going through the process. But it's resonating. We have people coming on constantly. And at the end of the day, again, if we can force people to ask those questions, and you can, every martial artist gets this question. Hey, do you know a gym in my area? Like if they're not near me or it's a cousin in another state. Hey, I was thinking about taking little Johnny to karate. What do you think I should do? Well, first of all, decide on a discipline or go to academysafe.org. Search your zip code, find all the academies that are doing these things, including the background checks, and then make your decision from there.
Okay. So I'd like to move on to a little bit to the next topic is our collaboration segment. Sure. So we really want to talk about it. And you touched a little bit on it because like right now, Black Belt Digital Marketing, the Jiu-Jitsu Dummies and podcast.
Not easy to say.
It's a lot harder to say than I thought.
Took you a while too when I first got started.
But I mean, both of these are collaborating in the effort to make Academy Safe even stronger, even more important, better. But what other collaboration efforts have you guys been working on?
Sure. So, Academy Safe is like a sponsor of, we give them a good deal. A sponsor of the podcast. My marketing company does the same thing. And what everyone, I want to talk about the podcast because everyone that's part of this, I met and interviewed on the podcast first. Rob McDojo, again, very well known. Joe Rogan's always talking about him on the show when they're talking about fake black belts or like bad actors in martial arts as a whole. It's very, very well known. Met him on the podcast. We did 2 podcasts, and then before our third, I brought him this idea. I interviewed a Secret Service agent He's on the board. He was the guy that told me about USA Wrestling's background check company. I looked them up. NBC Universal purchased that background check company and is now in this space of helping organizations, industries, teams, leagues throughout the country do background checks in safe sport, as well as the concussion course. That's where that part comes from. So they're in this space, the NBC, right? So very strange. I was just like, how do you guys get into this? Without going into the explanation, they are controlling this market now. And then I met somebody and I interviewed a litigation attorney. And I interviewed him a couple of times, and he'd bring on his coaches, and we became friends. And he has sued Meta and won billions. He has Facebook, Meta, right? He has sued pharmaceutical companies and received billions in awards, right, for his clients. So he's one of the biggest litigations attorneys in the country. His name is Paul Geller, and he's a black belt. Like everyone I've mentioned so far, Rob is a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, but a black belt in other disciplines. Everyone else, they're black belts, including myself, in jiu-jitsu specifically. Podcast is Jiu-Jitsu Dummies, so it was obviously meeting these people. So that was like kind of the first level of collaboration was Secret Service agent. Of course, we need you on this, advising us on kind of the legal and criminal aspects. Litigation attorney, of course, we need to cover our rear ends. We have to know what we can do and what we can do and shouldn't do. Rob, social media presence, coaching us on how to get out there more on social media. So we had this first collaboration. Once we started to bring these guys in, Rob specifically, he got us a collaboration with an organization called Tap Cancer Out. Tap Cancer Out is a nonprofit. They travel the country putting on jiu-jitsu tournaments. They're very popular in our world. And kids, instead of paying a fee to get in, can raise money for cancer research. And then that's their fees to get in. If they raise lots of money, they get backpacks, and our uniforms are called gis, or shorts and rash guards that we wear under our uniform. That happened. This will come out at a point where we'll be in full collaboration with our first association. It's called the Pedro Sauer Association. They are a huge jiu-jitsu organization worldwide. I believe they have about 150 academies worldwide, with 100 in the U.S. and Canada. We'll be onboarding, by the time this comes out, we'll have onboarded their first 9 academies. I believe they're all going to be in North Carolina, because that's where one of the decision makers is based. And then it's going to go, basically throughout North America. So collaboration has been huge for us. Again, Tap Cancer Out, Pedro Sauer Association. I've got podcasts that we've done collaboration with and done interviews and had them on, and they've had us on. But I mean, it's a huge part of what we do, especially as a nonprofit. It's very difficult to be paying for advertising, but it's really great when people are, sharing and talking about you on social media. It really resonates with people, especially in Florida. Unfortunately, this has kind of been ground zero for the issues within the jiu-jitsu community. Jiu-jitsu is really big here. A lot of the teams that are here were some of the first teams that were invited onto the UFC, and it's just big. It's especially where I am in Coral Springs, it's Coral Springs. American Top Team is based in Coconut Creek. I mean, that's 2 towns over. Within 10 minutes, there was a story written about Coral Springs specifically, about all of it's saturated with jiu-jitsu. So this has been the mecca of jiu-jitsu, but unfortunately, and this actually, most of the incidents happened in North Florida, but the affiliations are also down here, and the HQ was in Miami, the biggest offender. So it's been really important to get with other companies that can spread the word, who see value in what we're doing, and again, who recognize the problem. We do have some people that say, background checks aren't going to work. Background checks are going to work and help us keep people that have already been convicted. But we absolutely recognize we're not going to catch everyone, or we're not going to catch somebody who plans on doing something bad in the future. I should say it that way, right? So somebody that does something bad who hasn't been convicted, we can't stop that from happening. But if we can add this layer and there are tons of people that are scared that this is coming, because they're either going to have to lose their job, go hide, quit, whatever. They're here now. They're working with your children now. We did a webinar with the Secret Service. He said, when we were doing a little bit of getting to know each other and what the webinar was going to look like, he said something that it's stuck in my mind, and it keeps me up at night. He said when he does these webinars, he has to impart on whether it's a sports organization, a religious organization, whatever it is, when he's doing these webinars. And I should say they work very closely with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So that's why we were doing. He was the liaison, not our board member, but we have a liaison there that works with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And he said this to me. He goes, I tell parents, there's somebody right now planning on hurting your child. I think about that for a second. It's disgusting. Yeah, it makes me want to cry. I get tears in my eyes when I think about it. I have 2 girls. They're adults. But even there's somebody out there that's planning on hurting an adult, a child. In this context, he said child. There's somebody out there planning on hurting your child right now. Let that sit for a second and tell me that background checks can't help, right? That what we're doing isn't important. It's really scary. The only thing that's going to stop anybody from hurting your child, and I do recommend this to parents of martial artists, you can never leave your child alone. A lot of people use martial arts as almost like a daycare. They have aftercare. They come from school. Then they might go to a jiu-jitsu class and then they get picked up by their parents, or kids get dropped off by their parents and they leave. I tell every parent, don't ever leave your child. I understand the aftercare. I understand that you're working. They have to go somewhere. I get that. Well, then background checks, security cameras in the facility that if something happens, we can catch it. And then again, you can never leave your kids alone. The incidents that I spoke about at the beginning of the podcast were actually the 2 men that got in trouble had gone away with these girls and other team members to competitions. The parents sent these young women with a coach who had been coaching them since they were little girls. And then at 16, these things happened. Never let them go anywhere, but that's what happened is they went away with these men and now they're in this place. With jiu-jitsu, I call it a very intimate sport. We spar every session. And if you know what jiu-jitsu looks like, if people that don't know, you've probably seen a UFC fight or a highlight reel, the part where they're laying on each other on the ground. That's jiu-jitsu essentially. I mean, there's more to it. People will fry me for that, but we do takedowns and different things, but it's about getting somebody to the ground and then controlling them with your body. And I call it a very intimate sport. It's not like that in karate. You're not grabbing each other essentially. Judo are throws and you're touching each other. But taekwondo, karate, a lot of these other disciplines about keeping somebody away, kicking, keeping distance. No, I want to be like that suction cup, that Garfield on the back window of a car, right? I want to be so attached to you. We say space is bad. I need to be as close to you as possible so I can do what I need to do, either choke you, manipulate a joint, what have you, right? And get you to tap out or subdue you, make you pass out while I can get away, right? In a situation of a street fight, right? So inside of the academy, right, it's very intimate. I train with girls of all ages. I train with women and wives. After all of this started to happen, I very much I'll ask, like, if a parent's there and it's their child, and maybe they're saying, like, hey, go work with Milton, or a coach says work, I go, do you mind if I roll with your daughter? And I get their permission. And honestly, the adult women in my old school, I just started to not roll with them. Why am I going to put myself in a position where, you hit something, you touch something, something happens where it was just easier to just, I'll roll with the men, the women. We had a large women's program, so there's plenty of women for them to roll with, and they kind of liked that the guy stayed away from them. Okay. But in most jiu-jitsu academies, you're rolling with adults, children. So there's just this perceived intimacy that these predators have. Well, we're just rolling around with us, so maybe I can hit her, pat her on the butt, or I show her an extra move at the end of class, and you start to get a little close to them. Is kind of been what's happened. So we're recognizing it. The U.S. Center for Safe Sport Certification is the part that really gets you thinking about how people are acting with students and children inside the academy, which I really love. But again, the background check is how we're going to keep out the bad people that have already done something bad. The U.S. Center for Safe Sport and some of the other things are the way that we're going to keep them out, the way that we're going to train each other what to watch for. Because if there are 3 or 4 coaches on the mats, and you think everybody else is watching each other, that's a good thing in this regard. So that's where we are.
Well, and a lot of the education and all of the courses and webinars that you're doing right now, that's just going to help push them out anyway.
Yeah.
Because they're going to see it as an unsafe space for them to be in. And then the kids and everybody else that would be their victims are now away. So.
Sunlight is the best disinfectant. I've been saying that all weekend. I was at a martial arts convention, and we had a table set up, and we were talking about this, and I kept on saying that. And obviously, that's something you hear on the news a lot of times as it relates to politics, but that's the case here.
Yeah.
Shining a light on this is the best disinfectant because there's nowhere for them to hide. And if everyone is like, well, what is he doing? Why is he doing that? Why is she doing that? It happens the other way as well. I heard a story this weekend about a 21-year-old woman who was the daughter of the academy owner messing around with a 15-year-old boy. She's the daughter of the academy owner. He had to let his daughter, he had to fire his daughter, he had to let her go. So, I mean, it happens, but it's happening both ways. You know, it's not just men doing things, it's adults, you know, doing bad things.
No, but you're right. Sunshine, light it up, let it just kind of like
nowhere to hide.
Fizzle them out.
We want there to be no place for them to hide. And we want, you know, again, it's unfortunately been a safe haven. Aftercare programs, like if the school, they were, you know, teachers, aftercare workers, they require it. The second we put them in the van, because a lot of martial arts academies have a van or multiple vans that go to the different schools and pick up the kids and bring them to aftercare. Yeah. It's what parents do. They send them here. Well, there is no, once they get in that van, we've had educators tell us this, like, what happens once they get in the van? They're like, it's not on us anymore. They've kind of said, it's not our concern. That's now on the parent and that location, that martial art, which is crazy to think about it. My kid's safe at school, but as soon as I put them in the van, they go like this. And that's not everywhere.
No,
that's in most places.
It's a lot.
That, again, maybe the owner had the background check and got approved to run an aftercare program, but none of his staff members. So here we are. We've got our job cut out for us.
You got a lot of work to do, and we really appreciate you. Definitely. This is something that's going to keep us all safe.
Sure.
Yep. And
absolutely.
So I just want to go back to saying, before we finish up this episode, we want to take a second to say thank you again to Mark Adams and Visuals by Momo for being our brand partner for this episode. And as we wrap up, my favorite question I ask everybody is, what is the legacy that you hope to leave for future generations?
Ooh, I ask that on my podcast a lot.
Really?
And everybody goes, damn, that's such a hard question. It throws everybody. And then I just say, how do you want to be remembered? You know?
Yeah.
I do want my legacy to be this. I've said this on the podcast. I found jiu-jitsu very late in life. And I said, oh, this is why I found it. I do believe, I'm not a very religious man, but I do very much believe in like the power of the universe and, you know, the power of the power of attraction. If you've ever read The Secret and things like that, I've said it multiple times now. This is why I found jiu-jitsu, to do this. So I really want this to be my legacy. I'm very lucky that my daughter's involved with my marketing company. My daughter's involved with Academy Safe. So hopefully this lives on well beyond the time that I'm gone. But this is absolutely it. Academy Safe is that. And I should say as well, everybody wants to be remembered for being a good dad. Family aside, you know, when I'm thinking about legacy, when somebody, you know, looks me up online or something like that, I want Academy Safe to be not only the biggest version of what it is right now, but I mean, if I'm thinking out loud, I really hope that we become a regulatory body from martial arts. That short of a government agency stepping in, that there doesn't exist. There's no one overarching organization that does anything with all martial arts. They each have their own little organization. We want to be the overarching organization for martial arts if we can. And these are just the first. This is phase one. Year one has been phase one of building our database of members. Phase two is then promoting it as a place for parents to go. And then I guess, I don't know if it's phase three, maybe phase five is truly becoming a regulatory agency. And I think that would be an incredible legacy to leave behind.
That's amazing. So thank you so much. I do want to ask one more question, because how do people get in hold of you and be a part of Academy Safe?
Sure. For the most part, I'm probably going to be the guy answering the phone. So go to academysafe.org. There's a phone number right there at the top. If it's not Brandy picking up, it's forwarding to my cell phone. So I'm usually the guy that's picking up. If you have any questions about Academy Safe, or maybe even just like, hey, this is scary, can you suggest a couple of academies that I could go to that may not be registered with you yet, but you feel are good? I can answer those questions as well. Believe it or not, a lot of people that have called want to tell us their story. They're like, thank you for doing this. And like literally I've gotten as, could you mind if I call? Or, hey, this is great. I'm not an academy owner. I just want to let you know, I was assaulted when I was a child, and tell us their story. So I'm happy to speak to those people as well. But academysafe.org is a great place to start. And you can find everything else about me and what we're doing, including the marketing company and the podcast, which are partners and sponsors of Academy Safe. It's how we've been able to do this.
Milton, thank you so much for being on the show.
And Chris, I appreciate it, man.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you on the next episode of Visual Eyes. Thank you.
We do this in the Jiu-Jitsu.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Visual Eyes. We hope that the inspiration and practical insights can help you foster stronger connections and meaningful change. Don't forget to subscribe, share the episode, and leave us a review. To learn more about Visuals by Momo and how we support collaboration and storytelling, visit visualsbymomo.com. A huge thank you to everyone out there listening. Until next time, remember, collaboration fuels change, and your connections can inspire the world.